Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, and we have as our guest today for the next hour the Assistant Bureau Chief at Library Development Services, and I'm going to guess this is under the California State Library, and this is Natalie Cole. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jose.
So glad to have you. Usually I don't come in with pre-written questions, but I have a bunch for you, and I think we're just going to have a conversation anyway. But just things because I want our listeners to understand how everything works, how everything comes down and results in ultimately to more library patrons, but also more people who can access print as a result of the work that's being done under the California State Library. So let's start with that, and then and I do want to talk to you about just how you came to be in the position you're in now. In fact, here's the question I'll ask you. You're the Assistant Bureau Chief, Library Development Services. Who's the chief?
We are advertising for a new chief right now. So that position is open right now. It is currently being filled on an interim basis by our Deputy State Librarian, Rebecca Wendt, and she's doing a fantastic job. But we are recruiting for a chief right now. Very
good. And so just in terms of the structure of the California State Library, I'm used to having come actually. I've been involved in literacy for 35 years, and I actually come from library-based literacy programs. The National City Public Library back in 1985. Project Read, and so here are my roots. There's a whole lot that I saw back then. We're used to referencing back then the California Literacy Campaign. I don't know if that gets said much anymore. I've gotten accustomed to saying California Library Literacy Services, but that is a heading under Library Development Services. So let's start there. What happens at Library Development Services, and why is literacy under it?
Oh, well, Library Development Services is a bureau of the State Library, based, as you know, in Sacramento. And as part of what we do in Library Development Services was we administer funds that we receive from the state of California and also federal funds that we receive from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And our literacy funds do come from the state, funds for adult literacy services and family literacy services. So Library Development Services administers those two libraries across the state, and like I said, other state funds that come through and other federal funds that come through.
Very, very good. So the California State Library is the big piece, and I think I've been to the building because you're out there in Sacramento, and I don't know if you take up the whole building, but I know that I've been on one floor because I've visited there before. Does everything
We actually have two buildings.
Okay, that was going to ask.
We have the older, beautiful building, and we have a newer building, too, across the street.
Wonderful.
Newer office building. So, yeah, we take up more than one building. And I will say I work from home in Los Angeles.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, is that a new thing because of COVID, or did you at one time?
I always did that.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, most of us are at home right now because of COVID, but that's something that I and some of my colleagues already did because we provide services across the state. And so we do have people located in different places working from home.
Got it. So are you like the Assistant Bureau Chief? Do you have a equal who also supports the work that you're doing? Do you have staff at the State Library that works under your directorship?
The library programs consultants report to me, and each of the library programs consultants work on different projects within the State Library. So we have, for example, an early learning initiative that somebody works on. We have programs for veterans. We have reading promotion programs. We do data collection, looking at the statistics and data from libraries across the state. We do a lot of training, and our LPCs work on all of these kinds of projects. And then we also do have staff other people who work on literacy with me. So we have a literacy and state grants coordinator, and she's new. She just started a couple of weeks ago. And Lee Roman, she's fantastic. And so there's a small team of us that works on literacy.
Very good. Now, I do recollect some other services, special services under the library, and I'm seeing right now with you. Are these part of what you do? Rural library services and also services with Native American populations?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is embed those services to different populations within our project. So, for example, we have the programs for veterans, we have the programs like summer reading, we have the programs for early learners, and what we're trying to do is embed the services, for example, to rural populations into each of those projects rather than it being a separate initiative of its own.
Mm-hmm. And what are the challenges that you experience or the state library experiences in terms of providing services in an urban area versus rural? I mean, what do you see are the main differences?
It can. People have different levels of resources available to them, and so they have, different opportunities. Sometimes it can be a lot more expensive as well to provide services in a rural area where people are so much more spread out. Different communities have different levels of access to technology, which can make it harder or easier to provide digital services. So if we're thinking about right now where libraries, in many cases, the buildings have been closed or they've been, reopening now for sort of grab-and-go services where people can come and pick up something for the library, but they can't use it in a way that we're all used to using a library. In communities, for example, where people don't have the same access to technology, it can be harder to provide services, and so it's something that libraries are really focusing right now is digital inclusion, and how do you help ensure that people are receiving the services and benefits from the library if they can't access those services online, and of course so many services have gone online recently. So it's a huge priority for us and for libraries to make sure that everybody is receiving services, not just those who can go online. And I think sometimes in the more rural areas and the more underserved areas, people don't have the same access to technology.
And we're glad for the focus that you're bringing to that particular area. And of course, COVID has forced us to do a little bit more there, to focus a little bit more there. Gary Strong, who was the father of the California Literacy Campaign, I often quote him, and I'm not sure if he got this quote from anywhere, but he said that libraries were the people's university. And I've always loved that, and it makes sense to me. And certainly we want everyone to have access to the materials and also be able to read, so they can right. Once they have access, they can read what they want to read. And so the work that you're doing under Library Development Services and California Library Literacy Services is right in that area. So initially, I thought a good percentage of your work was literacy work, but it isn't, is it?
No, a decent percentage of it is, but we're working on a lot of other projects. Library Development Services supports libraries in getting connected to broadband, so that's a huge initiative for us. Again, with funds from the state of California to get more and more libraries with broadband connections. So we have that. Another big part of what I do is work on the Lunch at the Library program, which sets libraries up as spaces where they can provide meals to families during the summer. So when school ends, and in a traditional year when school ends and school is out, a lot of kids aren't getting the free school meals that they typically would get. And there's a federal USDA summer meal program, which is administered by the Department of Education in California, that provides meals for children at certain places. So that might be parks or boys and girls clubs or schools. And libraries have proven to be really amazing summer meal sites. People really enjoy coming to their libraries, and they're very accessible. And when families come in for the meals, you can provide them with books and the summer reading program and all sorts of other materials. So, looking at the other things I do, the lunch at the library is one of the other big projects that I work on.
Very good. And so, right, when you look at libraries, I mean, I think when you go back to the root of libraries, it's books. But I think in this era, we're thinking more along the lines of information services, regardless of the format. So it could be books. It could just be pretty much anything else. That
also, I think community building. I mean, when you think about a
Right.
library, it's building community. And so I think, we see that in the literacy programs in libraries. We see that in all the other programming that libraries do and the other activities they do. They're about, supporting communities, building community, and, providing all these services and resources. And obviously, books and reading, that's a huge part of that. And, it might be considered, the library's brand. But I think strengthening and building communities is a hugely important
Very
part
good.
of what
And I want to
libraries
come
do
back
every
to that
day.
topic, Natalie. We're going to go to break right now. And I do want to come back to that because it's an important point. It's an important part of this conversation. So we're going to be back with Natalie Cole. And right now you're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Can you help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. We're talking to Natalie Cole. She is the Assistant Bureau Chief at Library Development Services. She oversees the California Library Literacy Services, and all of this is under the California State Library. Wow, that's a lot, Natalie. Tell our listeners, what is your career history? How did you end up where you are today?
Oh, okay. Well, I started in England, and I got my master's in librarianship at the University of Sheffield in England, and then my PhD, and then I came to the United States with my husband, who got a job at UCLA, and I did a variety of different jobs, actually. So I've worked in public libraries, I've worked in academic libraries, and then upon coming to the U.S., I worked for an agency called the California Center for the Book, and then I worked for the California Library Association, where I ended up as interim executive director for a couple of years before moving to the state library. So it's a mix of nonprofits, I've done consulting work, and then also, as I said, working in public and academic libraries.
Well, you've been a book person a long time. So what brought you to library studies?
That's a great question. So I did my undergraduate degree, and then I think, like many people, after that finished, I moved back home, and I needed a job, and so I went to work in my local library. And, well, actually, when I was in high school, I worked in my local public library.
How about that? Yeah,
didn't forget that. That was a nice job, super fun, and I always enjoyed it. Although I never thought it would be my career, I just enjoyed it. And then after my undergraduate, I got a job in the local college library, and it was while I was there that a senior staff member who was a librarian sort of opened me up to this as being a career and something that I could do, and it felt very natural, and so I applied to go to the library school, and here we are now.
Wonderful. Now tell me, in what years were you at Center for the Book?
Oh, Center for the Book, I'm going to say, because all the years kind of merged, right?
No, right.
1999 to 2004.
Okay, so
it was when the Center for the Book got revitalized in California.
Okay,
so by Dr. Kevin Starr.
Okay, and that was on the UCLA campus, wasn't it?
That's right. So that's when I was there.
Okay,
when it was at the,
got it.
When it yeah.
So it's all coming back to me because now I remember you in 2000. Right. I don't know.
Now
if you
you remember.
Well, not that, but it's just like, well, okay, because in 2002 I started working for California Literacy in Pasadena, and I remember doing things at the Center for the Book and being there, et cetera. And so it just for some reason, all of a sudden, it's all coming back. So I remember just doing some things back. It's been a long time, all right? So I'm sorry. But
maybe you were on our advisory board, because I remember we had an advisory board, but we did do a lot of work with literacy. And one thing we did, and I don't know if you or your listeners know Valerie Renke, who worked in literacy for a long time
Valerie,
at the State Library. Valerie, right? And so I worked with Valerie to develop the Writer-to-Writer program.
Yep.
And that started while I was at the Center for the Book.
So the two of you started Writer-to-Writer?
We did.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, now I know. I'm learning things. And Writer-to-Writer is still a big thing. And I know we have had to make some changes given, quote-unquote, the current environment. But that's one of those things that I try not to miss when we're doing what we're doing with the Southern California Library Literacy Network, which was another one of my jobs after CLLS, where I was helping out that network of excellent literacy program coordinators who are associated.
Well, I can tell you that we are just talking right now. I'm talking with the Carrie Scott at the Carlsbad Public Library.
I just saw Carrie yesterday.
I know, good friend of yours, and we are talking about how we can honor this year's writer-to-writer awardees with perhaps an online ceremony or something similar, because we want to make sure that they are honored. And obviously we haven't been able to do the in-person event as usual, so that's something that we're talking about right now, and just talking about how writer-to-writer will launch this year. Yeah, maybe a little different, but it will keep going.
Yeah. No, we're finding ways to do things. You know, when everything hit back in February and March, things kind of slowed up a little bit, and it was a little bit dreary. But I think people are like, we can't wait for a cure. We have work to do, and so you all are doing that. And there's again more online resources, more innovation, and just taking advantage of the technology. So what you're doing at the State Library is very important and really important to us, especially right now. So before everything did what it did, and I know this is going to be a hard question for you to answer, what did your average day consist of?
Oh, my average day. Yeah, it was a little different than what it is now, but my average day is not, let me think, a lot of meetings, a lot of emailing, a lot of phone calls, and traveling to visit libraries and visit their programs, which is always, one of the best things to be able to do. And so we visit our grantees, and we see their programs, and we honestly, it doesn't sound super exciting, although, obviously we find it interesting. A lot of time in meetings, a lot of time on email. We work with the people on our statewide initiatives, developing the initiatives to make sure that they're really fulfilling their potential and really reaching the people that they need to reach. So strategizing and then making sure that the action plans that we put into place are, that actually take place. So those kinds of things.
Yeah, very good. So you kind of had to, in your work, you kind of have to cross lines. There's so much that you're doing there, and it all connects at giving people access to information. I don't know that you ever saw yourself getting into literacy work, but that's definitely one of the lines you crossed into. Was that a surprise to you, and what was the biggest surprise in that particular line of your work?
I don't know that it was a huge surprise, because I think it's a really core library service. And so, if you're involved in libraries and you then start working specifically on literacy, that I don't think that's like a huge surprise. It was a real treat when I was assigned to the literacy initiative in the State Library, because as we've sort of spoken about, I knew some of the people in the field from my work at the Center for the Book, and so to be able to work with them more in depth was just wonderful. And then I don't know about a surprise, but I just think something that I don't know that everyone knows is just that, the passion that everybody brings to literacy, the enthusiasm and the strong commitment to the work. Like, even though that when you're working among it, it's a whole different thing. So I wasn't super surprised, because I had worked with everyone before, but it's always something that sort of bowls you over when you're a part of it.
Right.
So that's yeah.
Well, and I asked the question really coming from a time when I think I don't think resistance. I mean, some people say yes, resistance. But at a time when literacy was being introduced in California state libraries, and a lot of librarians were saying, "What the heck are we doing this for?" How much has that changed? Because there was resistance, and maybe even some resentment. And now, as you're saying, this wasn't a big line to cross.
Yeah, no, and I guess that was before I started, working, so I didn't have to work with any of that. So, I think there's always work to be done in terms of supporting the relationships between different aspects of the library. For example, we have strong family literacy services within California Library Literacy Services. We just received a couple of years ago additional funding from the state legislature for those services. And so, strengthening those relationships between, the youth services or the children's department and, the literacy department is really important. And, making sure that everybody's connected around outreach and that everyone in the library knows how to refer people to the literacy team, people that they meet in the library. But no, I think the directors that we work with see literacy as an important service and a core service, and I think it is well respected.
Very good, and it just shows how much, how far back I go, how much things have changed. How much things have changed, because now it's like it totally makes sense, and it goes back to your comment about community building, and the library being all these other things that connects people to information, but also connects them to each other, and it responds to the needs of families, to the needs of adults individually, to the needs of children. And so, these it's great to have a place in the community where people can go and find the help. And like I said before, it was a place where people went to not find help, but to find books, information maybe for a specific project or something to read. And so the libraries have really changed this in terms, I think, as a source of a number of things, certainly information. Hey, Natalie, we're going to be back, and to our listeners, we're going to be back with Natalie Cole, the Assistant Bureau Chief at Library Development Services. Right now, you're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Hey, it's Catherine from Listen Local Radio. Moe's Guitars has proudly served the San Diego music community since 1975. Specializing in guitars, basses, mandolins, banjos, and ukuleles, they buy, sell, trade, and consign. If you're looking for lessons, repairs, accessories, and cool gear, you found the right place. Located in downtown La Mesa Village, stop by and check out their digs or visit moesguitars.com or their Facebook page. mozeguitars.com, 619-698-1185.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com. Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com. Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.